Well, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and today is the day that the panicans, deemed by President Donald Trump, we're all panicking because supposedly the markets are going to crash, and it's a Black Monday, like 1987, they say. Well, let's see what the markets are doing. Let's see what the world says and what nations are saying to America. And I think they're going to change their tune right here on the Political Pulpit.
We pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. It's that time again for the Political Pulpit. Like I said, I'm your host. Just a little while ago, we started talking about all the craziness that's happening in the market. We're going to dive right into that. But first, why don't you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you're notified every time we go live or upload new content. We're super excited about what God's doing on this program and our media house. It's Political Pulpit Media. We are building something very special that's going to have all the world news, all the information you need, but from a biblical worldview. We're working hard, plugging away every week, and it's happening. People are partnering with us. People are joining in on the fight. We're getting new writers and new talent, new content coming in. So as we start to populate politicalpulpit.com with the new news, or with breaking news or news that happens every day, be sure to check in with us. Make sure that you know what's happening and what's going on, because you don't want to miss anything. So go to www.politicalpulpit.com and you can go to /partner to partner with us. Our friends and families have already jumped in right as soon as we launched the partnership program. We're so grateful for our partners because they've already jumped in, donated, or are a monthly partner, and we couldn't be more grateful for you, because without you, this couldn't be possible. So thank you for all of those that are there and making it happen as we speak. So let's get into this. We have a lot to talk about. The tariffs kicked in last week. People are freaking out. The markets have gone up and down, left and right, and side to side. So we're going to just get into it and find out what's happening. President Donald Trump just today, as the markets opened, tweeted this: oil prices are down. Interest rates are down. The slow-moving Fed should cut rates. Food prices are down. There's no inflation, and the long-time abused USA is bringing in billions of dollars a week from the abusing countries on tariffs that are already in place. This is despite the fact that the biggest abuser of them all, China, whose markets are crashing, just raises tariffs by 34%. So as soon as this kicked off over the weekend, China's already jumped in there and kicked it up to 34%. So on top of its long-term ridiculously high tariffs, plus not acknowledging my warning for abusing countries not to retaliate, they've made enough for decades, taking advantage of good old USA. Our past leaders are to blame for allowing this and so much else to happen to our country. Make America great again. I bet you everybody that's kicking and screaming didn't even know that China was giving us tariffs. So President Donald Trump has run on this for a long time. He said this years ago. He said that he's been that person. You know, I remember when they show this video a lot when he was with Oprah. And he kept talking about how we were getting ripped off by other countries. We've been tariffed already for years, been taxed for goods and services for years, and we've done nothing. We've allowed it to happen. It makes me wonder why any elected official would be okay with that when Americans already pay high taxes. Wages are low compared to the economy and what the cost of living is, and yet we get taxed like crazy just to do business with other countries. It's absolutely crazy and asinine. So let's take a look at some videos here. We got some clips. We're going to just roll clips. Maybe we call it rapid fire, or we call it the news wire or something. Let's just get into this, and I'm going to show, I haven't seen a lot of these videos already, but I'm going to show the first clip when you all are ready upstairs.
Well, I'm excited about that jobs report, too. Again, we added almost twice as many jobs as people were predicting, but they were quality jobs. Again, compare and contrast Joe Biden's jobs numbers. Most of Joe Biden's jobs that he added were government jobs and part-time jobs. In this jobs report, a lot of these are construction jobs, they're full-time jobs, they're not government jobs. This is the tip of the iceberg. And I think at the end of the day, that's part of the American dream, right, is to be able to have a job that you can support your family and maybe be able to afford to buy your first house and buy your first pickup truck and maybe even your first bass boat. So I think that we're going in the right direction. It's a great jobs report. It's a good first number. I told my friends yesterday, look, this is complicated, but trust President Trump. He's done this before. We had a great economy. I think that this is the start of a golden era.
A jobs report is at 228,000, so that's huge. It says at this post here on Rapid Response 47, Senator Roger Marshall, MD, we added almost twice as many jobs as people were predicting, and they were quality jobs. Most of Joe Biden's jobs were government jobs and part-time jobs. And this jobs report is construction jobs and full-time jobs. They talk about how President Biden going into office, had this tremendous jobs report, and it was all like, from the the pandemic era. It's when they turned the lights on and they allowed everybody to come back to work. Then they counted those numbers from everybody going back to work after they were out of work for a year or two. So it's not the same thing. This is real jobs, construction jobs, and full-time jobs. So 228,000 jobs coming in as a surprise, I think, to everybody in March. I like take a look at what Secretary Marco Rubio says. He says, I'm taking actions to revoke all visas held by South Sudanese passport holders and to restrict any further issuance to prevent entry into the United States, effective immediately due to the failure of South Sudan. Transitional government to accept the return of its its repatriated citizens, I can't see this, in a timely manner. There we go. Okay, so you guys got to excuse me, my screen's a little bit messed up, so I can't really see it. But it looks like we're taking a hard stance with Senator Marco Rubio. You got to love it. He's making sure that the countries are following what they should be following when it comes to our citizenship process. Okay, so there's that in the news. There's also some stuff coming in when it comes to President Donald Trump's tariffs. Here it says U.S. Ambassador NATO Matthew Whitaker, POTUS is absolutely right. There have been trade imbalances across many of our allies in the way that they have also underfunded their military budgets and defense budgets. We're going to get our NATO allies to spend more. Let's take a look at this video here.
I want to get your take on the impact these tariffs are going to have on NATO members. What are you hearing in the initial stages of this implementation, sir?
Well, I think what I'm hearing is, we heard it on Thursday and Friday when Secretary Rubio was here for the ministerial, and it was very clear that our European allies understand that their security is completely different than their own unique bilateral relationships with the United States of America. And so, I think President Trump is absolutely right. I think there have been trade imbalances across many of our allies in the way that they have also underfunded their military budgets and defense budgets in order to provide richer social services to their citizens. Obviously that needs to change, and President Trump did run on that platform, and we're going to obviously get our NATO allies to spend more on their defense. But they're already doing that. You've seen 8 NATO allies since January 20th have agreed to increase spending. The Germans have changed their constitution.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at this really quick before we keep going. It says 10 largest, keep the screen up, 10 largest trade deficits with the U.S. Canada is at $63 billion, Mexico $171 billion, China's at $295 billion. So these are huge numbers. So let's see where this goes.
To increase spending on defense. And so, I think everyone understands the security situation in Europe. They understand that the United States of America is their ally and will help them project power and defend themselves. But at the same time, we can't continue this unfair path that really takes advantage of the American worker.
All right, so let's go to
on the impact.
The next one here.
Overreaction is unbelievable, as we've been discussing all morning. But more importantly, for investors out there saying, oh my goodness, what just happened to my portfolio? Typically in every single one of these situations outside of 2008, when you have these sorts of pullbacks, you are significantly higher. 3 months later, 6 months later, 12 months later. The market overreaction is
So they're talking about the market overreaction when they found out that China was imposing a 34% tax or tariff, and it went bananas. And well, I guess not in a good way. Tons of money being lost in the market, being wiped away. So that's probably making people freak out. And of course, President Donald Trump starts to call those that are panicking. Panicans, and I think it's hilarious. But because especially with the news that was coming out over the weekend, everybody was saying that the market's going to crash, it's going to be a Black Monday, and market's going to be wiped out. But there's a lot of sane people out there saying, calm down, don't overreact, don't go on these big sell-offs. And I think there's a good amount of people that are still holding. But of course, there's a lot of people that are making huge moves. And so I get it. But let's take a look at what they're saying.
That's what we've been pointing out this morning. And the president has been pointing it out. Rates are plummeting. Oil prices are plummeting.
Yeah. Deregulation
is happening. We've got all of these things happening. President Trump is not going to bend. He told me, a number of times that he's trying to build the economy and make it independent as opposed to relying on China for things like prescription drugs.
So tariffs are going to hurt. Like, let's not get it twisted. Tariffs are going to hurt for a second. This is a complete reset. Anytime you redo something or you try to clean house, it gets worse before it gets better. Like, we didn't expect, the markets just to be booming right out the gate because people are going to be skittish and scared, and prices of goods coming in and out of the country are going to change, especially if countries are going to be trying to fight us over our reciprocal tariffs. So China, I think they're testing Donald Trump. I think they want to see if he's for real. By now, they have to know that President Donald Trump's for real. Like, seriously, why even play around? Let's take the next clip.
But I want to give the president time. That's where I'm at, and that's where Nebraskans are too. To be able to give the president time. As you quoted what he had put up this morning, I agree with those points. We're seeing a decrease in oil prices. We're seeing food prices come down. Here in Congress, we are looking at spending cuts to get spending under control. We're looking at getting rid of a lot of regulations out there. All of that is part of this package. So when we wait for the president's tariffs to be able to have an impact on the unfair trade practices that we have seen against ag producers, against manufacturing here in America, we want to make sure that we're going to be addressing that. Right now, for example, ethanol. Nebraska is an ethanol state. Yep. We are the second largest producer. When we talk about ethanol, ethanol from Brazil comes in with no tariff right now, none. They pay zero. But yet when we export ethanol to Brazil, 18%. Those kinds of actions by other countries need to stop. Those are prohibitive for exports. We had an administration under Joe Biden that did nothing. They had no interest whatsoever in trade.
Well,
and we saw
right.
over $40 billion trade deficit.
That's the stuff that I can't stand. I mean, why are people freaking out that we're trying to fix this nasty tariff system that comes against the U.S.? You kind of have to put the heat on. You got to put the pressure on these countries. You can't just let them tariff us and then we send things over without any cost. I mean, there has to be free and fair trade. It doesn't seem that difficult, but again, we got these crazies on the left that they're panicking, as President Donald Trump likes to say, and they continue to freak out over this, but it's going to take us to be a strong nation and say, hey, we're going to tariff you as long as you tariff us. Then they're going to come to the table and say, let's do zero tariffs. Let's do free trade and see what happens to both our countries. How about that for a change? Let's look at the next clip.
The president has made it clear that this policy, he believes, will help American workers. And there's a reason why he believes that, because policies like this in his last term did help American workers. After really 2 decades of no real wage growth in the U.S., we got more than $6,000 per family after we had tariffs and tax cuts and deregulation. And so he's doubling down on something that he knows works. And he's going to continue to do that, but he is also going to listen to our trading partners. And if they come to us with really great deals that advantage American manufacturing and American farmers, I'm sure he'll listen. But in the end, it's President Trump that's going to decide when a deal is good enough. And I think it's interesting that so many countries are lining up. The final thing I'd like to say is that there's so many people that keep saying, oh, it's the American consumer that's going to bear this tariff, is going to make inflation go up and so on. But if you think about it, President Trump's view is it's these countries that are sending inelastic supply to the country, and so they're going to bear the brunt of the tariffs. And if that were false, then if they didn't bear the brunt, then they'd be quiet about it, right? The fact that they're all angry and upset and sending retaliation our way suggests that President Trump is right, that they bear the tariffs. If they're worried about bearing the tariff, that would explain their behavior.
Doesn't that make a ton of sense? If these countries didn't feel like they were going to feel it, or they didn't think they were going to feel the weight of the tariff, they wouldn't say anything. Like, oh, the American people will pay for it anyway. But that's not the case. They're saying, hold on a second, let's talk to you. Let's talk to the president. Let's figure out what's going on here and why, why this is going to happen. This is going to cost us. So they're coming to the table, they're calling the president and saying, let's meet, let's figure this out. We don't want to be tariffed. We want to make sure this is good, fair, and free trade, on and on and on. It's going to work. We have to trust the president. Let's take a look at the next clip.
So what is enough? Okay, you take any given country, they're like fingerprints. They all cheat us in a different way. So here are the things they cheat us on. Some of them engage in...
Of course, it's going to start buffering. Give us a second. I'm sure it'll figure. There it goes. Okay, I think we're ready. But anyways, while I let this buffer, the point is that I think you can all agree hopefully you can all agree. And if you're not, look into it. We're going to continue to show clips to kind of try to ease the pain of this Panic Monday, the Black Monday they're trying to call it. Everybody needs to relax, not freak out, trust the president. He's been talking about this years. I don't know why anyone is surprised, but let's see if we can get this next clip going.
So what is enough? Okay, you take any given country, they're like fingerprints. They all cheat us in a different way. So here are the things they cheat us on. Some of them engage in currency manipulation. Some of them have a hefty VAT tax. All of them dump into our markets. All of them engage in heavy export subsidies and government subsidies. All of them put up these phony technical and phytosanitary barriers to our ag products and our autos and everything in between. Many of them steal our intellectual property. A lot of them run sweatshop labor, including forced child labor. They have pollution havens. So when you say to me, China, what do we want from them? We want fairness. We don't want them to kill American workers by inundate us with this non-tariff cheating. And it would be really refreshing to have the media talk more about that. This zero tariff thing, it's a misdirection. No, it's a misdirection. It's the non-tariff barriers. So what?
There you go. I mean, it would be amazing if the media would figure it out and cover it fairly, but they're not going to do that. They're going to try to make it look like President Donald Trump is destroying the economy. Let's take a look at what the president says here. The United States has a chance to do something. Oh, you want it on? Is that fine? Okay. The United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panicking. A new party based on weak and stupid people. That's crazy, but that's so funny. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. President Trump is not backing down to this one bit. Thank God for that. Obviously he's doing something that, let's just pray it's exactly what he says it's going to be. I think it is. I think that we're going to have a rocky April for a little bit, but come May and June, things are going to turn around. And we got to continue to pray for the president, because this is really going to excuse my language, tick a lot of people off. And there's a lot of people that are pocketing some of these tariff deals, if you know what I mean. Some of these politicians, these dirty, dirty politicians, they've been up to some things for years with these countries, and it's all dipping into their pocket. That's why they're freaking out. They don't care about you and I. They're going to sit there and say, like, this is going to hurt the American people. They don't care about us. They're worried about filling their pockets, and that's what they're trying to do. Take a look at this next post. It says, Dayton, Ohio once had more auto jobs than anywhere but Detroit. But unfair trade deals shuttered plants and put tens of thousands of people out of work, leaving the community devastated. Previous presidents may have thought this was acceptable, but POTUS, President Donald Trump, does not. Let's take a look at this video.
From 2001 through 2007, the Dayton metro area lost almost 23,000 jobs.
Delphi is really scaling back their production here in the United States. A lot of that work is going to Mexico and China.
To put it another way, nearly 1 in 3 local jobs in manufacturing vanished during that time. And things only got worse from there.
Today we're announcing our plan to, over time, cease production at 4 GM truck assembly plants.
These gas prices, they're not going down.
In 2008, GM closed its massive Dayton operation, citing rising gas prices and plunging sales.
It sounds like tough times in Dayton, Ohio.
GM will close the plant for good later this year, 2 days before Christmas.
It was one of the last big auto plants in a town that once had more auto industry jobs than anywhere but Detroit.
We produced quite a few GM brands. GMC Envoy, the Isuzu Ascender, Saab, Buick, Oldsmobile.
Mexico basically is a shift in strategy.
Rodney Brickey was one of more than 2,000 GM workers laid off that day. He'd put in 14 years, starting back when his father worked there.
The insurance was pretty much unbeatable, and the wages were pretty high. I'd say it probably averaged out around $35 an hour. When the plant closed here, economically it was devastating for this area, because when you're making that kind of money and something like this closes, it's next to impossible to find something that's compatible.
That's just, something happened back in the 80s, 90s, or actually, no, excuse me. Late 90s into the 2000s, deals were made with other countries, and that shipped all these jobs, manufacturing jobs, auto worker jobs to other countries for dirt cheap. And then at the same time, those trade deals, we got stiffed on all of them. And we get charged, and it gets handed over to you and I, the American consumer. So that has to change. Why? Who thinks it's a good idea to send these manufacturing jobs to other countries just so then they can tax us for it, and we buy, we're buying from them? It's ridiculous. And I know it's because of cheap labor and all that stuff, but we get hit one way or the other. President Donald Trump says countries from all over the world are talking to us. Tough but fair parameters are being set. Spoke to the Japanese Prime Minister this morning. He is sending a top team to negotiate. They have treated the U.S. very poorly on trade, and they don't take our cars, but we take millions of theirs. Likewise, agriculture and many other things. It all has to change, but especially with China. Thank you, Mr. President. I just think that it's absolutely ridiculous that we are continually, that we get stiffed on all these deals. And it's been, why in the world wouldn't other presidents look into this and try to fix it? Who knows? Let's take a look at the next video.
It was very interesting over the weekend that the president immediately announced we've got 50 countries that want to engage. He obviously called out specifically Vietnam and said they are coming to the table. Today, Benjamin Netanyahu is meeting in the White House with the president to be able to talk about the tariff issues with Israel, because Israel has had high tariffs on us, and getting those balanced out. So there's a lot of work to be done, and it can be done very rapidly, and we don't have to have a major long-term shock. This is an initial shock that is occurring right now. Let's see how the negotiations go around the world, because many countries are coming quickly to say, let's resolve our longstanding differences where we have ripped off the United States for years. Now that train has ended. And so now it's time to be able to figure out how do we actually have good, balanced trade with nations around the world.
That's exactly what we want. And it's working. They're coming to the table. That's what President Donald Trump does. He makes deals. He puts the pressure on, gets them to the negotiation table. That's the way it works. I mean, you can't have it. You can't have it any better than that. President Donald Trump is doing what he knows how to do best, and that's the art of the deal. And now countries are wanting to come to the table. Let's take a look at the next clip.
I think President Trump is a deal maker. He threw out the most significant, worst than expected tariffs on what he called Liberation Day, and that's probably the high watermark. From here, he uses that as a negotiating lever, and you've got all of these countries that are talking about the potential for deal making. Israel spoke about it, the UK, Vietnam, Argentina. We are going to see some of these countries take their tariffs down. And that's what President Trump wanted. He also wanted corporate America to say, we've got to move our supply chains back to America. That will create jobs and make the United States less dependent on China, which, of course, is an adversary. I think President Trump is.
So that's it. They're all coming to the table. Even Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu came in today, so that's good news. And I think there's going to be a deal made there. They are one of our closest allies. Let's start by making deals with our closest allies and seeing what happens. When the other countries that want to fight with us and try to tariff even more, they're going to see us making better deals with other countries. They're going to want to come to the table. Let's take a look at the next clip.
Congress has given the president more and more authority on tariffs, specifically national security, for unfair trade practices. President Trump is fully within his authority. And I appreciate what the president is doing on tariffs, specifically in our home state of Wyoming. In terms of beef, the cattle producers, they're saying it is about time. Yeah. One of the countries that you just showed on that slip before I came on, Australia. Australia has sold $29 billion worth of beef in the United States, and we haven't been able to sell one hamburger in Australia because of barriers. They showed Thailand 30% tariffs on beef coming from the United States. Vietnam 50%. You look at these numbers, and the ranchers of Wyoming are saying, "Thank you, Mr. President. It is about time."
I can't wait to get into that because I love American farmers. We grew up in Arizona when it was nothing but orchards, farmers, cotton fields, dairy farms, and now it's just apartment complexes everywhere, and God knows whatever else they're building. But we love our farmers and ranchers, and we know some of them in some of the organizations we work, like Stake 44 and others, and they have to jump through hoops to farm. They have to get taxed and send, some of them send their meat to get processed overseas just to come back, and that raises the prices. And we don't even know what they're doing to the beef when it's just it's crazy to think on how manufacturing, farmers, ranching, and all that stuff has turned out in America. It's sad to see. Thank God that President Donald Trump's trying to put a change to all that. But let's take a look at Dayton, Ohio. Well, not that one. We've already shared that one. Let's take a look at. Let's see. This one's talking about more cheating and more lying from other countries. Let's take a look.
World trade lifts the boats of everyone, and no country has benefited more from the last 40 or 50 years of free trade than the United States has. But it's also true that these other countries have been cheating and lying. Listen, I want to make sure that your viewers understand something. The reason that we've had a trade deficit in terms of goods is because we are importing capital from the rest of the world. Yeah. It's just a mathematical equation. We're the best place in the world to invest in. Foreigners have to bring capital into the United States, and the only way they can do that is if we buy more from them than they do from us. But the trade deficit is not the problem. The problem is their tariffs are up here, ours are down here. Trump has the moral high ground here, and I'm going to say it again. All that has to happen to stop this is for these foreign leaders to get on the phone and say, let's negotiate. We'll bring our tariffs down, which would be better for everyone. Stuart, I feel like pulling my hair out.
Better for everyone. That's what's the big deal? Makes you wonder why the media freaks out, why people are freaking out. makes you wonder why the politicians are all up in arms over this and trying to put fear and make you scared about everything, that the market's going to crash and that the President Donald Trump's purposely trying to destroy America. What is the big deal? Just, who knows? It makes you pause.
Will you do a 90-day pause? Would you consider that?
Or Bill, yeah, I think that the president is going to decide what the president's going to decide. There are more than 50 countries in negotiation with the president. We've got the prime minister of Israel coming today. We've had a reach out overnight from Taiwan. And but I would urge everyone, especially Bill, to ease off the rhetoric a little bit.
Yes.
The fact is that say 10% baseline tariff is on, 14% of GDP. That's about how much trade we have, how many imports. And so 86% of GDP is affected by the deregulation and the tax cuts and everything else.
Will you do a 90-day pause? Would you consider that?
So there, it's basically relax, everybody. That's pretty easy to say. Just relax. Everybody needs to quit freaking out. So check this out. This is how crazy the media can be. Somebody releases that President Donald Trump has agreed to a 90-day pause on tariffs. Then the market shoots back up. Then the White House comes back and says, that's not true. That didn't happen. We're not going to put a 90-day pause. We're going to double down, and this is what we're going to do. Then the markets change again. There's the media. Let's take a look.
Spoke to Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, on the phone just a short time ago, and she tells me it is, quote unquote, fake news that the White House is considering a 90-day pause. So the White House pouring cold water on this idea, wherever it came from, that they are considering a 90-day pause on tariffs, saying that the president is committed to his tariff regime, and any reports that he's considering a 90-day pause are, quote, fake news. That from the White House press secretary on the record just a short time ago to me on the cell phone here as we try to sort through where this came from and why it is that the market became convinced that might be a possibility. The White House saying it is not a possibility, Carl.
Not a possibility. Markets change, they kind of tick up, and then people are like, look, the market's working. But that's because President Donald Trump was said to do a 90-day pause, which didn't really happen. And, they were like, it's pathetic. It's crazy. Take a look at this photo here. It says gas prices are down 33%. That's awesome. 33%. They've been ridiculously high. Saudi cuts oil prices amid OPEC plus supply boost. So, it's all good stuff. I think, like I said, it's going to be a challenge at first. We're not going to see the markets be all happy about this. Of course, they're going to freak out. But let's take a look at this next video here.
Well, first I want to start with this industry is in a unique position. While other people in agriculture may be a little bit worried about the tariffs, people like Alan Adams here, who run this cattle farm, are uniquely positioned because, again, as you said, this will level the playing field. So tell me how you're feeling at this moment.
Well, we've struggled with tariffs my whole adult life in the cattle business. And so we were happy to hear the president last week mention that beef was one of the things that he wanted to have tariffs lowered. And so some of the European countries and Australia have been difficult for us to sell beef in. And so they get to sell beef into our country, and we're happy to have them compete against us. But we'd like the same chance to sell the great taste of American beef to them.
Imagine what this is going to do for American ranchers and farmers. Being able to sell to other countries, to sell within the U.S., of course, but to sell other countries, make more money, grow. We have enough food in the U.S. to feed every American. We don't have to bring in food from other countries and meat from other countries, which is wild and crazy to me, and get tariffed. Now, if we're allowed free trade into other countries, American farming is going to be great again. I mean, isn't that a good thing? Wouldn't people want that to happen? Did we already share the statement from President Donald Trump? Let's, right here. I can't remember. I'll just read it again. It says, yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs of 34%. I don't know if you guys can zoom in on that a little bit. If not, it's fine. On top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation, despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, that's April 8th, 2025, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, President Trump, you almost called him Brother Trump. President Donald Trump uses X and Truth to send his notice to China. People are freaking out. They're like, won't this destroy trade? Why are they so, I don't know. It's crazy. Since when are we so excited about China and the stuff that they do and versus what America does? Like, America needs to quit being ripped off by China. But yet you have American citizens that defend China. It's just unbelievable. Drives me nuts. Take a look at this.
Really, for the first 200 years of our country, we really didn't see any of this kind of stuff. This is a crisis of the 21st century, and specifically with liberal activist judges. In the first less than 100 days of President Trump's administration here, you've seen more injunctions than the 12 years between Obama's two terms and Joe Biden. So these judges are more than willing to play an outsized role beyond their Article III authority. So there's a few things that are happening. One is some legislation to say one single judge can't do this. Maybe you need a panel. That Senate Judiciary hearing that you heard, that you clipped up from last week, was Senator Grassley's legislation, which would say those district court judges really only have jurisdiction for the parties that are in front of them. I think broadly speaking, though, as these cases make their way up to the Supreme Court, President Trump is going to be successful because he's either operating as commander-in-chief with his Article II powers as the executive, or controlling the programming and personnel of the Article II branch. Unlike Joe Biden, who was trying to steamroll the Constitution by saying OSHA could force 100 million people to get a vaccine well beyond his authority. Really what President Trump's trying to do is actually rein in the power of the administrative state. So I think he's going to be successful.
You guys, President Donald Trump not only does he fight the evil in this country, but also judges in this country. And I think that's the fight there, right? We got to, somehow these judges have to quit blocking everything the president does. And Congress needs to get behind President Donald Trump's actions and make sure that these things get passed. And a lot of these judges need to relax and quit blocking things that the president's trying to do. So a few cool things that happened today. It looks like so believe it or not, Los Angeles Dodgers players got invited to the White House, and so they actually went. Take a look.
Mr. President, we have a gift for you as well.
Oh, I like that.
Nice. I don't know about the Los Angeles Dodgers, though. Sorry, guys.
Oh, they're going to move it.
Oh, that's crazy. That's pretty cool. There are some teams like, I don't know, the Warriors, who just refuse to go, a bunch of losers. I can't stand the Warriors anyways. I don't like the Dodgers either, but at least they got to see the president. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, President Donald Trump welcomes Los Angeles Dodgers Shohei Ohtani to the Oval Office. Pretty cool moment there. Let's wait till I show the screen. There we go. Sorry, guys.
3, 2, 1. You know what you do for your family. This is so great to have you. It's a great honor. You're an amazing athlete and person. Have a good time. Take a picture by the Declaration.
Put them by the Declaration of Independence. Telling everybody what to do.
3, 2.
That's awesome.
3, 2, 1. White guy. Thank you.
That's pretty cool, man. President Donald Trump visiting with the Dodgers. I love that stuff. That's pretty awesome. So we got a few other things to cover. Let's jump to commercial really quick. I wanted you guys to take a look at BlinkBed, blinkbed.com. You can use promo code Pulpit24 for an exclusive 10% off. It's like sleeping on a mattress. I promise you, you're going to enjoy sleeping on this mattress. You can't go wrong with a BlinkBed mattress. My whole family sleeps on it, and it's the only mattress certified by the American Arthritis Foundation. You won't be disappointed. And take a look. Let's cut to commercial. Hopefully you guys have it ready. If not, let me know. Today's episode of the Political Pulpit is proudly sponsored by BlinkBed, the ultimate solution for a good night's sleep. As we navigate the complexities of politics and faith, it's crucial to rest well. BlinkBed offers a revolutionary mattress designed with your comfort in mind. Crafted with cutting-edge technology and the finest materials, it's a sleep experience like no other. Did you know that Blink Mattress is the only mattress certified by the American Arthritis Foundation? Say goodbye to restless nights and wake up rejuvenated, ready to face the day's challenges. BlinkBed is not just a mattress, it's an investment in your well-being. So visit www.blinkbed.com and use code Pulpit24 for an exclusive 20% discount. That's www.blinkbed.com, because a well-rested mind is a powerful mind. BlinkBed for a sleep experience as enlightened as your political insights. Huge thank you to BlinkBed at blinkbed.com. It's like sleeping on a cloud, and you'll get a restful night's sleep. All your aches and pains will go away because it's a hybrid mattress with all the great technology. And guess what? We're not going to be hit by the tariffs because it's made and manufactured here in Arizona. And I promise you, roll packed, put in a box, delivered to your bed, you're going to sleep well. Only mattress certified by the American Arthritis Foundation. Use promo code Pulpit24. Let's throw up the information for partnership. www.politicalpulpit.com/partner. Partner with us. We are so grateful for you. Those that have jumped in and donated or are actually our partners, our monthly partners, it makes a world of a difference. It allows us to continue to press on, press forward, and get the message out. We're the Political Pulpit. It's that conversation of faith and politics. We're breaking barriers. It's that uncomfortable conversation. But the beacon of light, message of hope, there is a message for the political arena, and we have that message, and that's through the gospel of Jesus. So that's really what we're all about. We're not trying to be a political show. We're trying to be a faith-based show that addresses government and all of its craziness, the policies, the things that matter to us the most. And if you want to know more about us, shoot us an email. We'll be happy to talk to you. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook. We're live on X right now, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. And then, of course, you can see us at watch.osn.tv. Thank you to everybody at OnlySource for joining us and allowing us to be on your platform. Now you can go to there and use promo code Josh to subscribe to their platform. They have other talent on there, other Christian influencers that are on there talking about the end time, prophecy news, world news, global news, biblical values. There's Bible studies on there. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of information, a lot of video where you can watch, and you can watch us on there. So thank you for everyone at OnlySource at OSN.tv. All right, we got a few more clips to show. There's one that's kind of important to us because we're out of Arizona, and this video comes from a cattle rancher here in Arizona. Take a look.
Out in Aguila, Arizona, you have to watch for cattle. Gila. Brian Daganal is a third-generation Arizona rancher.
These are all Hereford cross cattle. The black ones are showing the Angus more, and the red ones are showing the Hereford more.
His cattle ranch produces enough beef to feed 4,000 families a year, but that number could be a lot higher.
What we would like is to have access to these foreign markets.
Yeah.
Cows like the ones behind me will be steaks in a year, and Daganal says if Trump's tariff plan works, ranchers like himself will be able to sell those steaks in international markets that right now they just don't have access to.
Australia ships a lot of beef into the United States, and that's fine, but they won't let our better cuts go into Australia. We have zero sales in Australia right now, none. And they sell
billions of dollars in the United States.
Even with the stock market dip.
I am a Trump supporter.
Dagenhall wants people to be patient with President Trump.
You just need to let this guy work for a minute and see what it's the art of the deal. You got to let him negotiate. He's been negotiating well for the American people before. I think we give him a chance to do it again.
So, like, make that make sense real quick. Like, how can ranchers not be able to sell to other markets, but we get flooded from other nations into our market? Not tariffed, but our stuff gets taxed or tariffed. It's just unbelievable, and I think this is the right way to go. This is the way it should be. We should be in a free, fair trade, and that's what the president's trying to find out for us. Let's take a look at this clip.
I think at this point, we should all be all in on what's happening. I mean, we had 4 years of a lot of mischief and sluggish economy and everything else, and a lot of fake money. So we have to deal with a little bit of pain to have some gain, right? Yeah. And I think we're going to have to just do that. I think, you know, this shrimper guy was interesting to me. I loved hearing that because our industry is the same. We have the lowest beef herd that we've had since 1950, and that is because so many people have gotten out of the industry over the years. And if we would have had this fair trade and our marketing would have been better when we could have exported more of our beef, I don't think we would have lost all these farmers and ranchers. And that's going to take some time to rebuild.
Let us rebuild. This is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to rebuild. And I think, again, this is the way to go. This is the way President Donald Trump has chose. And let's see what happens. Let's take a look at... Oh, you guys know this. Wall Street freaked out today, so here's a video on that.
Wall Street is freaked out right now. Main Street is not. And Main Street is the Trump voter, and Wall Street is freaked out.
Oh, that's it
right
okay,
now.
Well, that's true. I like that. Main Street's not freaked out, but Wall Street is. So we are friends with. So Israel came. Prime Minister Netanyahu came to the White House today. Let's get into that a little bit, and then we'll call it a day. We got a couple interviews in the next couple of days. Super excited to bring that to you. But let's take a look at this clip.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have a very, very special person. I've dealt with him for a long time, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. And we had lunch together. We had meetings together.
Pretty cool. All right, let's take a look at this one.
I said to the president a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States.
Awesome.
We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, you know, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, you know, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. Right. And I think that's basically the position that you have put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs, and rapidly.
Well, we'll end with that. I think that free trade does have to be fair trade. Very well said, Mr. President, Prime Minister Netanyahu. We're going to continue to watch closely what happens in the rest of the world and what happens closely in America, because free trade is fair trade. And don't panic. Don't be one of the panicans that President Donald Trump is calling, who are freaking out, saying all the crazy bad things about what the president is doing. Stay in it. Stay in the fight. Stay vigilant. Let's pray for our president. Let's pray for our leaders. Let's continue to get in the fight and make sure that righteousness prevails. As a Christian in the body of Christ, we're called to pray for our nation's leaders, regardless of who they are. And that's what we're going to do. And let's just pray that this turns around. It's going to take some time, but it's going to be all right. We'll see you all tomorrow on the Political Pulpit. God bless.